video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut this stylish basque underbust princess dart gown with gathers. This dress is from Modest Salam, and to join our WhatsApp group, go ahead to send us a message on WhatsApp. So to start, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, and I marked my hip point. So now let's take this dress as this pattern as my full length, and let's say my full length is 45 inches. So next, you're going to mark your shoulder divided by 2 and add half. You're going to come down by 1 inch from there, and you're going to place your ruler and draw out a slanted line. Place your tape. To find your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now, I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line. After drawing out a straight line, go ahead to measure your shoulder divided by 2 and mark and add half inch to it. That is what we have on the shoulder. Go ahead to place your ruler and draw out a straight line. Now you're going to place your tape and you're going to fold it into 2. From this point, you're going to come out by half inch. On the chest line, mark your bust circumference divided by 4, and after that, go ahead to connect from that point to the midpoint and from the midpoint to the upper part of your pattern. So after you're done marking that, the next step is to start marking your dart intake. Now I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I'm going to stop this at the waistline. Now I'm going to go ahead to draw out a straight line at this part. So I'll be marking a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. Since it's a princess dart, you can mark half inch at the front part and mark 1.5 at the other side. For a plus size, you can decide to mark 1.5 inches at both sides, or 1 inch in front and 2 inches at the other side. Place your curved drill and connect this all the way to your underbust this way. And after this, I'll go ahead and use my marker to outline my pattern to make it visible. So after you're done marking this, I'll go ahead to outline my waistline because the basque will be starting from that point. Next, you're going to divide your armhole into 2. After marking that, you're going to go ahead to connect from this point all the way to your bust line. That is the nipple to nipple line on your bust line. Mark half inch on this part and half inch at the lower part. You want to connect this to the main line of your pattern. After you're done connecting, go ahead to use your marker to outline and also outline the other side. So this half inch we took out at this side, you're going to go ahead to replace it at this side. So half plus half will give you 1. Go ahead to blend it to your armhole. Mark out your shoulder, and what you're going to do next is to go ahead to mark your neckline. I'll mark 3 inches here. Place my tape. If you notice, the neckline is a bit deep, and I'll come down by 1 inch after my bust line. So I'll place my curved drill and I'll connect, and go ahead to use my marker to outline this. After I'm done doing this, I'll go ahead to place my curved drill to connect to my underbust this way. I'll use my marker to reconnect it, and this is what I have. Moving over to the other side of the pattern, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. I'll mark my underbust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. So for this particular pattern, you can go ahead to use any sewing allowance of your choice. So if you notice, I stopped connecting to the waistline. So for the lower part of this dress, there's a basque and there's a gathers also. So first, you want to go ahead to connect either straight to your underbust or go up by half inch or go down by half inch. So I didn't see that part of this dress clearly, so you can decide either ways how you want that part to be. Now mark your waist circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. Now you're going to start drawing out your basque from this area, and I'll just come in a bit and I'll connect it all the way down almost to my hip point, that is 7 inches. Why? Because the basque area is a bit deep, is very deep, so you can use up to 6 to 7 inches what we have there. So if you feel it's so deep, go ahead to just make use of 5 or 6 inches. So the remaining part of this dress, other side is a gather. So what you do, the length of the dress minus your half length, The full length of my dress is 45 minus 17. I have 28 inches. So for the gathers part of this dress, that means I'm going to use 3 yards by 28 inches for that part. So after you're done cutting this part of your dress, you want to tape it up together, because you'll be joining the underbust part as a separate piece from the basque area. And I'll also go ahead to cut out the upper part of this pattern this way, which you'll be joining separately. So I realized I didn't cut out this ½ inch I have here. I went ahead to cut that. So this is my pattern for the front. And also remember, you're going to cut enough fabric to gather the lower part of the dress. So this is how you'll be joining it. You join the upper part of the basque, then you join the underbust area and join the basque to the dress. So for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements that I marked for the front. Now you realize the back also has a basque, but the basque of the dress is a bit shorter. So I'm using 4 inches for the basque of the back. So you can decide to use more than that, but I don't think is more than 4 inches. So now I'll go ahead and mark my basic neckline of 3 by 1 inch, and I'll connect because the neckline at the back is very high. Next, I'm going to go ahead to start marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. So my nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. So while marking this also, I'm going to stop at the waistline of my pattern. While connecting the line, I'll stop at the waistline because I don't need to extend my dart to the lower part. I'll mark ½ inch at both sides, come down by 1 inch at the bust, and I'll go ahead to connect this. After I'm done connecting this, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline this. And the next step we're going to take is to go ahead to add our measurement. So at the bust, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add a sewing allowance. There's no dart at that point. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Here, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, replace the dart intake that I took out and add my sewing allowance. Then I'll go back to the under bust and replace the dart intake I took from there. Then I'll go ahead to connect my pattern. So after I'm done connecting my pattern, give it a slight princess dart effect. You can go ahead to divide what you have at the armhole, but if you want to leave it basic, you just go ahead to sew out your darts. So divide your armhole by 2 and connect. So now I'm going to go ahead connect from my waistline to my basque. But when you're connecting from the waistline of this particular pattern, please go in by 1 inch by the side because of the darts you're removing. So for the zipper bulge, please go ahead to take out ½ inch from the zip, extend it all the way to the upper part and to the lower part of your pattern. After that, I'll just go ahead and I will cut out my pattern. So if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and join us in our next video. Thanks.